Hey, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Wealth Help Desk. And myself, I'm CJ Collins, and I'm here with Dylan Sanat, and we're talking about finances, brother.
100%.
It's another great day.
It's another beautiful day.
Happy Wednesday to you.
Yeah, it's a great day. Middle of the week.
We're in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I feel like the weather is terrible right now. It's super cold in the morning, and I don't know what to wear, and then by the afternoon, it's really hot, and so I'm just having a wardrobe malfunction consistently.
You take a car to work. Like, you get in, it's heated. Who cares? Like,
No,
what's the
It's
complaints?
cold when you get in. You can't handle all that.
Probably park in a garage,
You're scootering to the office, aren't
Yeah,
you?
it's a little brisk in the morning.
I bet.
It's a little brisk.
See, you experienced this.
That's why I just have an office jacket and I rotate them. So I bring a jacket to the office and then I leave it here and I go home with no jacket. After a week, I then have to transport all the jackets home.
Yeah. I want to talk about this for a second, okay? So, lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
As you've looked, and we talked about it, just from the weather alone, obviously the impact of me living about 25 minutes away, driving every day, and you living in the city and taking your scooter to work every day.
Yep.
Right? And the differences of, I need a car. Technically, you don't need a car, Dylan.
100%. It's beautiful.
So you don't have to worry about some of the things that we're going to even talk about in our first segment.
Yeah, you can have scooters, you can have bikes, e-skates. We use all of these devices, and all of these devices are significantly inexpensive.
Yeah. And I think what's great about that is you can build your life around the style you want within some of these things. And one of the things that you've taught me over the years is to embody, like, you love the city living. Like, you're good with it. You want to be in the apartment and explore all the different things that come with that, where you can easily get to a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of walking that you can do to go from place to place. And there's some life enjoyments that come from that. Like, you live a great life because of that.
100%.
You love that, right?
And it's also, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to experience both ends of the spectrums, right? Like, I've lived in big houses away from the city. I've lived in tiny condos in the city. And then same thing on the car front. Like, I've had really cool cars. And then now I've basically had the same lame car for like 5-6 years and don't really care. It gets me from point A. We literally use it to take our dogs to the vet. And that is literally it.
Yeah, sure.
And that's even a rare occasion. But other than that, it's what are the things that you want to get enjoyment out of? For me, a big stressor was always like, when I worked 9 to 5 in the corporate world, it was, hey, I have to spend an extra hour in the morning because of traffic and an extra hour in the afternoon because of traffic. And, I'd rather spend those 2 hours with my friends playing video games or hanging out with my wife or with the dogs or whatever the case may be. But it's like, I would rather choose to do it that time when I won't. That's not to say that I don't enjoy cars. Like, I would just rather drive those things for enjoyment, for pleasure. Like, let's go do something cool with them instead of like, let me sit in this, small metal prison for an extra 45 minutes a day.
Yeah. Turn the podcast on. Listen
100%.
to something like this.
But that is a challenging thing because, like, I do feel that, it puts you into the real world more and you get to enjoy life a little bit more in that context. But, like, I don't really listen to podcasts in the same sense or, like, radio shows and stuff like that, which I previously did. And now it's like, well, I have 2 hours of my time back, but then I feel like slightly less informed at times.
Sure. And I think when I married Sarah, and Sarah's my wife, we've been married for, I don't know how many years now. It's been 6 or 7. She knows. I don't. Okay. But one of the things that her desires was just a community in a suburban neighborhood, right? And one of the things that we found when we moved into the house, because we bought our house about a year ago, there's like block parties in front of my house all the time. And so we get to see, the same kids that walk up with their parents. Everybody brings a lawn chair out. And so when I stroll back home from work, I normally am like driving into like 7 people that are standing in my driveway. And like, it's fun to chat with them and be able to experience life with them. And then that in some ways becomes a little bit of my resilience chain, right? When I need help with something or they need help with something, they can reach out to me. I'll take care of their dog or their kid or help them with a crisis going on in their life. And then vice versa, that happens for us. If we have a crisis, we have somebody we can rely on. And I think part of the things that I didn't expect for it, and my wife knew this, I didn't, but she wanted that community. That was really, really important to her.
Yeah, I mean, they say, especially with children, and it takes a village to raise them. And it's same true with humans living life in general. We're a pack species. We're meant to be together. And I think that's one of the, that's the bad vibes that I got from more of the suburban living. And that's what some people get from that. Yeah. In the sense of you just get isolated, right? Like, if you don't get to know your neighbors, if you don't make friends with them, if you're not that outgoing of a person, then it's kind of hard to engage in those conversations and to kind of build that village around you. I do think my wife's somewhat of a antisocial person at times. She doesn't really like to seek engagements, and she doesn't really seek finding friends.
And that's normal, by the way, nowadays. 100%. A lot of people don't. Yeah.
But it's like where we've lived in the city over the past couple of years, when there's a dog park and she has to take the dog somewhere every single day, you see the same people enough times, you get to know their names.
Yeah,
you might know their dog's names first, but inevitably you get to know the parents' names too. And then you see the same people in the elevator, same spaces, your front desk staff. It just kind of helps you become a little bit more outgoing, because I think in today's society with school and education and jobs, like, people are getting away from the social skills. They're getting away from the social values. And to me, the city was just a low-hanging fruit of, like, it forces those interactions. You can't not be involved. Yeah. Whereas I think some people can kind of go to the suburbs. You kind of become a recluse. You can kind of lock yourself in, and then it's really hard to engage in those moments. It's hard to, how do you help raise your kid? How do you help with a problem you have or a car thing? If you don't have too many friends and your colleagues at work aren't that useful, then you can feel real isolated quickly.
Yeah, and I think what I want to bring this back to is our first point, which we're going to talk about debt. We're going to talk about credit cards and debt, and we're going to look at some stats and things like that. But ultimately, Dylan and I have made two very different decisions on how we navigate our life. And if I'm honest with myself, I have different expenses than when Dylan might have based off of some of those life choices, right? I have to have a car to get into work every day, right? I have a mortgage on the house that I have to pay, right? You have rent. You have a different form of this, which is a scooter. And so I don't have to deal with the maintenance on a scooter. You have to deal with the maintenance on some kind of electric vehicle, right? And like, and there's also dangers with that too, right? You take some other safety things where it's like, somebody might run you over on a skateboard, and we've seen things like that happen, right?
I take the odds of a runner taking me out over the Suburban on the highway. Because Charlotte traffic is
wicked,
awful.
Yeah, exactly. But our first topic is the average American still has a bunch of debt right now, and we're going to look at it from three different perspectives. We're going to look at it what it looks like today, what delinquency for 30 days looks like, and what delinquency for 90 days looks like. So go ahead and throw that first one up for us, Mark. Ultimately, we're going to talk about credit card debt. This one's rising pretty consistently. Mortgages are also rising pretty consistently from the amount of debt people have. And then auto loans are kind of bleeping, going up and down over the last little period here. Obviously, this is over from 2003. Yeah, 03. So we have a big sample size here on this one. But people have a lot of different loans that are going on in their life. And this debt really does start to pile up, and you have to navigate it in different ways, right?
And I think one of the things, when we talked about this before the show, there's a lot of things that you and I do that are very boring. And a lot of it's to do with finance, right?
Sure.
And when you look at like our kind of career and life trajectories, obviously you have a mortgage. You can obviously afford to pay that because, you haven't been foreclosed on yet. And then obviously I can afford to live in the apartment, right? But the kind of difference of how we got there is both of us did our best to avoid debt at all costs through the whole journey of this path, right?
Sure.
And I think when you look at stuff like this, a lot of these people kind of fall victim to, once you get in it, it's really hard to get out of it. It's one of those where, it's obvious, but in hindsight, you always just need to get ahead as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because the moment it starts steamrolling. When the mortgage gets big and you go delinquent on that, you lose every bit of equity you had in the house on the backside of that. When the credit card debt piles up, that's going to stay there. It's going to be hard to get rid of. Your student loans are going to be a hard thing to get rid of. So having an efficient plan and a saving strategy early to kind of mitigate that, you can go with two different paths to that. And that's where I think you and I differ the most. You've always been a very, very efficient and tight saver. I've been very tight, but my early years, I was like, I'm just going to do whatever job pays me the most.
Sure.
I'm going to get the highest income I possibly can. No matter my bad habits, that will compensate. And you have to deploy one of those strategies, and you have to know who you are as a person. If you're the type of person that's okay changing your jobs every 6 to 12 months and going to the newer, bigger, better, badder thing, then so be it. But again, my wife hates leaving jobs. She wants to be a company woman for her whole life. She likes her friends at her job. She doesn't want to change.
Yeah.
But she could make significantly more money if she did. And when I was younger, that's what I did constantly. And, there's morality and, a
little bit of loyalty.
And a lot of those things that become like, questionable, but that's a decision. You understand who you are. Like if I could do that, if you're a company guy, then, hey, I've got to save. I've got to do this. It's going to take me so long to get promoted. My pay is not going to increase, blah, 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 blah. But all of that tells you on those charts is that people aren't living within their means. And you have to first understand who you are, and then no plan is not an acceptable plan.
Yeah.
And that's what most people have.
Yeah. And I think part of that no plan strategy is when you have no plan and you get backed up against the wall.
Yeah.
And I say that that's like the first time that maybe you take out some credit card, debt. You put a couple things on the credit card. You put the grocery bills go on there, maybe a couple of different pieces, maybe your leisure time, maybe you go out to the bars, you have a $80 night where you have some drinks. Totally cool, right? Not shaming that stuff. There's a phase in life for that, right? But that stuff starts to add up.
Sure.
And now I get to a spot where I don't have the cash to pay off the card, and now I'm paying interest on it. And so I've started the downward trajectory of those moments. And this can look like school. Maybe you're overreaching on school and you shouldn't go to a 4-year university. Maybe you should go to a 2-year college first. Or maybe it's you're a family man and you want to go to Disney and you decide, hey, we're going to throw some of this stuff on the credit card. And I think all of those little choices get you to where it is a bigger problem. And
100%.
so you might be one of the two people. You might be backed up against that wall. And so my advice to you is say, hey, it's going to be hard for a little while, but make the right choice to get yourself in a position where you can get out of that spot.
Yep.
Or the other one could be, hey, you're in there already. You're in the depths of it, right? You've made the bad decisions. You're in the chaos. You have to start making right decisions now. You have to start making hard decisions, and that sucks. Like, it's not fun. It's not good, but it's the answer to the question in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's an homage that I heard when I was young, which was fortunate, and then I experienced it in real time. But you really only, especially if you're a young person, if you're sub 30 years old, you're only going to have two options. Assuming you make it to 30, which I obviously hope everyone does. Once you get to 30, you're either going to be an underlived 30-year-old who's probably in a safe spot, or an underexperienced 30-year-old who isn't. And it's one of those, do you make the hard choices when you're young and kind of give up some of those frivolous bar activities and other stuff in your 20s so that you're safe in your 30s? Or you can do those in your 20s, but then your 30s are going to be a little bit harder as a result of it. Again, both plays are fine. It's just being aware that that's the situation. And a lot of these things, we talked about delinquency earlier. A lot of those things might not be things that you're fully aware of or understand are going to happen.
Yep.
I had a situation recently, which is, and we have a chart up talking about the transition of delinquency by loan types here, as you see. And if you notice, the student loans, those were put on pause for a while during the Biden administration and then into the Trump administration.
That's why I dropped down, yeah.
Yep, and then it flatlined for a little bit, and then obviously now at his resurgence. And as a person who, I keep a very close watch on my finances, I've been very diligent about this. I actually hit that red line over there at the end of last year, and that's because when they paused all the student loans, they reconsolidated them kind of without, I guess you don't get the choice in general, but when they reconsolidated the loans, you might have went from 5 or 6 accounts down to 2 or 3 accounts, which is a fine thing. But due to the way the contact information was displayed, I was contacted about 2 of them, but not a third one.
Oh, really?
So I obviously were paying the 2 that were logical. And then August of last year, I get a notice from, I use Chase as my credit monitor system. So Chase is like, hey, your credit went from 811 to 505. And I was like,
that's weird.
That's not good. What has happened here?
Sure.
So I look and it's basically there's a third account that I never would receive information that I should be paying towards on a student loan. Reached out to the nail net federal government nonsense about it. Talked to those guys. They're like, okay, cool. Yep. Your contact information literally says parentheses null. So clearly, it's not there. I was never notified about this. So then how do they go to remove this? Well, the government shuts down for 90 days. And Chase is effectively like, if this doesn't get removed in the next 60 to 90 days, nothing we can do about it.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it's one of those where like you can be in the right position and aware and understand, and these things still can happen.
Yeah.
Like issues are going to come up. You're going to make mistakes, or maybe the government makes mistakes. Sure. It's inevitable.
And part of this is like there's a factor of like unluckiness.
100%.
Like you just got a little bit unlucky. And I think one of the things we talk a lot about within a plan, within your financial future, is like you don't leave things up to luck.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Every chance you get, it's like something's weird where you're trying to figure out, why is my student loan less? Because you're probably like, oh, this is awesome. It's less than what it was.
It was actually
before.
it was weird. And again, this is a series of funny things. I've joked about just paying them off for years because it's like, it's totally not a money thing, but there's a stupid penalty associated with it.
Sure.
I have to pay a percentage of the initial value on my loan, which is egregious.
They want their interest, buddy.
100%. It's egregious. So I was like, screw it. But the interest rate's so low, it's literally lower than inflation, so I don't really care. But yeah, when they consolidated it was only like $600 or $700 got split into another account, which was like just small enough to where I didn't notice. And I was like, oh, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But like you said, those things are going to happen. Issues are going to come up. Mistakes are going to be had, whether it's on your part or it's a little bit of unluckiness. But the thing is, as a person who not having good credit does freak me out. But it's, what am I doing? I'm not buying a house. I'm not buying a car. Like what do I need credit for right now? Like, obviously, I want it to be good. I don't want it to be bad. But being aware of those situations, because it's like, if you're going into the market to buy a house, you should probably be doing things to spike your credit, because that interest rate is going to be very different if it's at 500 versus 800.
Yep.
So being aware of what you're looking for. Hey, you might not need a car right now, but if your car's motor blew tomorrow and you had to go to the dealership and buy one, are you in a spot for that?
Yeah.
Could you do that? You might be able to afford it, but then if you can afford it with a 20% interest loan, it's like, well, you shouldn't afford it. That's a terrible play. So just understanding, like, what are your parameters? What are your situations? What are the variables you can control? Because there is going to be luck. There's going to be things you can't control.
Yeah, you're going to win sometimes, and you're not even going to realize, right? Like, some good thing is going to happen that's going to be great. Whether it's a tax advantage that happens through a return, or you win the lottery. I don't know. Like, there's different pieces of this puzzle that will happen on there. But I want to go back to that slide really quick. I don't know if we got to show it, but the 90-day delinquency. Yeah. And the point I really want to drive home on this is the fact that, like, there are rising delinquencies in all of these things. And I, when I look at maybe our average viewer and some of the debt that they may hold, it's like, you're feeling the squeeze of some of this stuff, and you have to make a choice if you're going to pay your mortgage over your student loan, over the credit card debt, over the car, whatever it might be.
And my concern is, when I look at this chart, specifically on the blue line, you see, that's credit card debt. And if you look at about 2020 to 2021, it went down a little bit. We got a lot of stimulus packages here in America.
Yep.
So there was a lot of excessive capital that people weren't, they didn't plan for necessarily. It's probably a fortunate side of it, excessive capital. And then what ends up happening is, if you pay the credit card debt, it's great. But then the spike at which it went back, it has now exceeded what it was before. And we saw that they tried to stimulate the economy, and that's what the government wants to do, to get people to go out and spend more. But what you don't want to do is overspend.
Yeah.
And I think we saw it a lot with the hobby industry and crypto and a bunch of other things, where during COVID, people were like, hey, I need a camper to go out west to explore things because I can't go outside. And it's like, okay, well, the camper costs $50,000. You couldn't afford it before COVID. So using the $2,000 stimulus is not the responsible choice to do this, right?
It's a great down payment for it.
100%, I guess. But again, it goes back to all the other factors. What can you prepare for, and what can you plan for?
Exactly, yeah. No, I think this is good. And we're going to transition a little bit. We're going to talk about scams.
Sure.
This is really an intriguing topic, and I'm glad we're talking about it, because I think this industry is going to change a bunch, and we can make a couple predictions based off of some of these things. But what I want to first show you is, look at our top 25 right here on different scams that are attacking people. And I think what's crazy is the top 3, which are identity theft, imposter scams, and debt collection. And this comes back to another topic we've discussed about, which is like password protection and the encryption of your online identity and how people get access to your bank accounts. And these are robust businesses, by the way.
100%.
This is not like, a random person in a random country taking a random jab at you. They have a sales script and a process and multiple people, and their goal is to be able to get dollars from you. And normally the victim of these are elderly folks that just don't know technology in some ways, and they feel like somebody on the phone is helping them navigate something. But it's definitely a travesty that happens through the world that we live in.
And the unfortunate piece of it is, we can say the older generation, it's usually the people that are less tech savvy to understand what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If AI has shown us anything, our generation is going to be victim of that soon enough, and the generation below us is going to be victim of that soon enough. We have a friend who's 10 years younger than me, and he got by a parking one, where it was, or not a parking one, but a toll one, where it's like, hey, we saw you went through this toll.
Yeah.
And it was in a place that he had been before, and they just auto-paid the thing. And it's just like that. Just a random text message. I get on my phone, I use a service called Incognito. There's a lot of them out there like that.
Yeah.
I was getting upwards of 100+ calls a day last year. I assume it's because I'm listed as owner of a business or something along those lines. Where it's just people trying to give me loans, somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000, just constantly, like hundreds of times a day. And it's usually they call with, hey, we were reviewing your case and wanted to see if you wanted to enact this. It wasn't, I've never seeked anything out like that before. I have never provoked that. I have never even looked at getting anything in that method. But the script is very like, hey, you're halfway through the process. You just need to finish this up. Which one in the beginning, I was like, I'm clearly somebody's taking my identity. This is not good.
Yep.
And then I looked, and that's just, on that list you had earlier, it was, I think the 4th or 5th biggest one is like banking or lending scams. Yeah. And it's like, that's a crazy concern for normal people, because if you were to call somebody our parents' age and be like, hey, you've almost finished this process. Either A, they're going to be like, oh man, did I do that yesterday? I didn't think about it. Or B, are they going to be like, my identity is all gone.
Yep.
And that's how it becomes very quick to kind of fall down that slippery slope.
And they're getting better, by the way. And so you need to be more proactive as an individual, looking out for, hey, is this actually my energy company?
Yeah.
Sarah, my wife, has fallen victim to 2 of these. The first one was the IRS scam. They call you and they say, hey, you owe taxes. You messed up on your taxes this year. You need to pay this immediately. And there's normally a phone number on it, or they're just asking for money straight up if you send it to them and you end up on the phone call with them. Bad things happen. For Sarah, they said that they were going to call the police on her. The police were coming to her location to arrest her. Yeah. And she was in tears. And they like got her. And it's like, hey, like nobody just shows up to arrest you like this. It's not how that works.
Yeah.
But you have to know that. And you have to be looking out for it. And a lot of folks, they just see a bill that shows up in the mail and they got to pay it, right? And that's normal, right?
Dude, there's a bunch of weird ones. I've gotten ones before that are like the radiology thing. And as a person who's unfortunately broken far too many bones in their life, like that's a pretty reasonable expense given my lifestyle.
Yep.
But it's not. It's just a common scam that they just send you, hey, you have a radiology bill pending with Atrium Health, and then the URL will be slightly wrong.
Yep.
And there's a lot of those. The other one that's getting more and more concerning is with AI and the other technology. It's people calling your parents using your voice or saying they are you.
Yeah.
And that's one where it's going to get worse. And we think about it from our generation. It's like, oh, our parents get God. I would never get God. It's like if Sarah called you and was crying on the phone saying she needed help and you needed to do something, and it's not her, you're going to respond a certain type of way. You might not know. You might not in that moment, because that's a very emotional moment. And these scams are going to get harder and worse and more concerning. And I don't know if the solution is just to get off technology or what's the play, but it's a scary world.
Yeah. The other one we got was an HOA one. Came at, hey, the world knows we got a mortgage.
Yeah.
Because you get a lot of mail on things that are
refinance.
Like, you want to refinance that bad boy. And then some bills show up that are just odd. And so there's a couple in there. One of them was an HOA bill. And our HOA is very cheap. I want to say it's like $10 a month. So I only pay $120 a year in HOA fees. But it showed up and it was like, hey, you missed your HOA fee this year. It looked really weird. And I was like, this doesn't look like the website. It looks like something else. And it was nice. Like the URL was, they had a little login for you and they want you to pay your HOA fees that are due. And you're like, there's just some nuances there that were just a little bit off for me. Yeah. And then I was like, and then I went to my passport database. I'm like, what's the website I pay my HOA for like previously on this? And it was different. And I was like, oh, and so it's clever and you have to be on your guard because they're matching what you're doing already. They know what bills you have 100%. To pay and they're trying to find and target those things. The other thing with the voice AI thing, and this is my recommendation, your family should have a safe word and nobody should know that safe word except for your family. Yeah. And so like, if you're just a little bit unsure, if a random stranger walks up to you and says, hey, Sarah said this, I'm always asking Sarah, hey, Sarah, what's the safe word then? What Sarah would have told you the safe word. What is that? Yeah. And she's like, if they don't know it, that's an issue, right? Yeah. And so you have to have safeguards in your family, things like that. But I recommend a safe word for your family. So
no, for sure. And it's also one of those you can always vet additional details even if you don't have something like that. Like ask about the dog or whatever else, because that's very improbable. If they've thought that far, they have been tracking you for a while and you have other concerns.
Yep.
But it's just, I don't know, it's a scary world out there. Unfortunately, there's some bad people and it is what it is.
It is. Okay, let's jump to our next. Oh, we got some more financial scams. Actually, let's throw this one up real quick. We can just talk through some stats on it.
Imposter seems pretty accurate.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yep.
Some credit card identity ones. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think we're driving the point home that they're everywhere and there's a lot of different ones. And we're going to see new ones. So stay on guard.
And what's worse is these are ones where they only went for big things, right? Yeah. It was the prince from the Congo who just needed you to send him 1,000 so he could send you 10,000.
I do remember. Yeah,
it was one of those where it was a reasonably obvious thing. Whereas these now, it's like they're getting you with HOA fees. It might be 10, 50, or $100. It's not crazy amounts. Like that radiology one that I got was like, I think it's like $126, which is a number that I'm certain some percentage of Americans would just be like, oh, that's probably me, paid. And that's obviously why they're doing this. It's not for the crazy erroneous amounts. Now, sometimes it is, and those still exist, and those are still not good, but you just need to have systems in place to avoid that. Mm-hmm. And you can set it up. Most people that have set it up have had bad things happen. One of our close friends, he actually got his identity stolen literally the week he was closing a house. And it was under a weird scenario to where he let a stranger borrow his phone. He watched the stranger use the phone, but somehow in turning of the body and twisting. He went to his photos. From his photos, he had a picture of his ID, sent himself the ID, and then went through like his Cash App and WhatsApp, and then basically sent everything to him. And then the next day, opened up a whole bunch of credit cards in his name. And then it wasn't until a week or two later that our friend found out. As a result of this, though, he now basically has if his Social Security gets used, it's got to go through like 3 hoops. And, he couldn't buy a house without a month's notice. He couldn't open a credit card without a couple weeks' notice. And is that really that bad? Like, is it really that bad to be intentional? Like, for me personally, there's not a situation where I'm like, hey, it's a Tuesday and I need a credit card on a Wednesday that I don't have, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And there are some people that might be different for, but you can take those precautions. But most of the time when people take those precautions, it's after the bad things happen.
That's right. Yeah. So be proactive, do it before. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next thing. We're going to talk. Ooh, this is a fun one.
Okay.
Because, I was actually doing some research on this, so we're going to have a little fun with it. But ultimately, we're talking about tax-efficient accounts and how to use them. What does it look like? Roth IRAs, 401ks, regular IRAs, where you can kind of stash your money and all these different pieces. And we've got some stats on tax efficiency. Because really what we're trying to do with this is we want to make sure that we put money in places where it is tax efficient, where you pay the least on taxes. Because there's kind of this invisible idea where you have a bank account, right? It's got $100,000 on it. And so you're in retirement, you want to get some money out of that. How do you do it? Because if every single time you go to make a withdrawal, it's 25%, you really don't have $100,000. You might have something like $75,000, right?
Yeah, and those things, they add up quickly. And it's what type of pull strategy do you have? Do you have an exception to buy a house? Do you have an exception for other things? What can you take loans against? Obviously, for whatever reason, I feel like the internet's has an obsession with the upper class. And it's like people, they see Elon Musk where, he bought Twitter with his stock options. He took a loan against him. He doesn't actually have the cash. And it's like, the problem is every American commonly doesn't have the cash. If it's sitting in a 401k, if it's sitting in an IRA, if it's sitting in a indexed or an annuity or a savings account or whatever it is, there's some degree of speed to liquidity that you're going to have.
Yeah.
And trying to understand that, because the biggest time is during a liquidity event, it's often a taxable event.
It is.
It's often something where you're going to lose a percentage of that money. That might be a fee to a 401k. That might just be the taxes because you put the money in untaxed. Yeah. And there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. But just again, understanding and being aware of what those situations are, especially given your needs.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different accounts that are out there. And as you walk through your career, and you're probably experiencing this in some ways because just having as many jobs, it's like there's just different buckets of money. And there's certain phases of your life where maybe you've had 4 different jobs and you've got an IRA with some of them. Some of them you have a 401k. Yep. Some of them are convertible. Some of them are not. Some of them are small. Some of them are bigger, right? And so you're like, how do I clump all these in the right spot? Because it might not be you want to put all of them in the same account. Yep. Maybe you want to parse them out into 3 different accounts that have 3 different purposes. And I think taking advantage of the ultimate one, which is the Roth IRA, is definitely a big deal, because for those who don't know, the Roth IRA is one of those where when you take that money out, it is tax-free. And there's no RMDs. And an RMD is a required minimum distribution. And so with a regular IRA account, you're going to have to take that money out. The government's going to say, hey, you have to take this money out of here. With a Roth IRA, you can leave it in there until you actually need it. Or you can give it to your kids or whatever. But essentially, when you take it out, that's tax-free money. So putting money into a Roth IRA can be good. But the backside of that is it can also lock that money up, right? Because you won't be able to take it out before you're 59 and a half without taking a penalty on it. So you're taking money that maybe you're 30 today. Well, you can't access that money for another 30 years. So you want to make sure it's kind of not money you're going to use today, not spendable funds, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big concern with a lot of this is, again, understanding your situation, your income strategy, and what does your horizon look like? And being honest with yourself, right? You might be a person who's 30 years old and you're making 80 grand, but you think you're going to make $500,000 in 5 years. Then it's like, yeah, your tax strategy is going to change a whole lot in about 4 to 5 years.
Sure.
But is that realistically going to happen? Because there's also limitations when it comes to the IRAs and everything else. Of how much income you make and how effectively you can use those accounts. And that's what I got into, like trying to understand more when I was younger, because I really just wanted my liquidity because I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. But I know not being able to access it for a long duration of time didn't seem like the best for the bulk of my funds. But I also was a person who, I'm trying to quit working at a corporate job by the time I'm 30. I'm living a very different life than a lot of normal people. and you just have to understand your situation.
Sure.
Like if I was, if something happens to me tomorrow and Crystal has to keep working, then she wants to stay at a job for the next 40 years.
Sure.
So it makes sense for her to understand, what's the retirement plan? Is there a pension? Can you help me with my 401k? I'm not going to leave, so we're going to be working this out.
Yep, exactly.
And that's
is that money we need, right? Should you
100%.
put it in there? Should you not, right?
If we need to get a house later on, does that make sense? What are the other benefits? And those things matter to a whole different spectrum. And at the taxable events even comes down to, if your employer gives you other benefits, if your employer, like currently, they've paid for some of her medical bills at times, but that's technically a taxable thing based on how that goes through and how it comes through the system, whether it's a HSA account or whether it's, one-time use situations. There's a lot of weird nuances that when it comes to taxes. And hey, there's no shame here. Like, obviously, we all want to pay less in taxes. I'm hoping that everybody questions the effectiveness of our taxes at times. It's not like we don't want to help the country. It's not like we don't want things to be better. But it is one of those things of like, you feel like you're getting punished for being taxed more. And if these, I don't call it loopholes, but rules are there for a reason, you should use them to your advantage. You should use the Roth IRA to your advantage. You should use 401ks to your advantage. These aren't things that are meant to be like hidden in secrecy. It's just, you got to be aware of them.
Yeah, and if you throw the 3 buckets up, Mark, I think the 3 that I look at here that are very, let's talk about the purposes of each one of them. So our orange bucket here on the far left is, these are our money that's accessible today. And it's not going to be the best tax advantage, right? A lot of times these are going to be very much taxable in every single capacity, right? There might be a nuance here or there where it's not as taxable, but you're going to pay taxes on all this stuff. But it is going to be money that you're going to use, and you're going to need it now. Right, you got to have this money right now, today. Right, then we have some tax deferred buckets. Right, our 401ks, our annuities, some traditional IRAs. This is, hey, you work at let's use an example here. Boeing. Boeing offers an awesome IRA plan where they have a Roth IRA that they contribute to 6%. So if you work at Boeing, you're getting a great spot, right?
Yep.
And so this might be that money where you're going to work at Boeing for 30 years. That's your plan. You're going to design airplanes and do those things. Well, that is money you're not really going to touch, right? Yeah. And it's got to have a very specific purpose to it. And then we have our tax-free money, which is what I was talking about with the Roth IRAs, where it's like, that is a distribution thing where in 30 years, I'm going to think about it, but I can't use it today. And when you talk about your plan, you have to make sure you have very specific purposes for those dollars. Because if you make a mistake and say, hey, you go way too heavy on the tax-free side, you put all your money in a Roth IRA, or as much as they let you, but then you end up in your bank account where you only have $1,000 and you can't pay off the credit card. Well, you've kind of made a fundamental mistake of how you want to balance those things out.
Yep.
And the other thing specifically right now, which is really good, is we're living in an administration where taxes are really low.
Yep.
And so it might make sense to do some of the conversions on some of that money today, because the next administration that comes by, good or bad, that can be your opinion, they might have higher taxes, right? There might be things that impact your accounts.
No, 100%. I mean, if you look here, when you look at what it's, obviously this is over 100-year clip, but you can see at times we've obviously had crazy high federal taxes, and the current status, it's not overall that terrible, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those where, we joke, and you can think about it from the sense of America seceded from England over the sake of a 2% tax on tea, and now here we are feeling happy about the fact that the effective tax rate is 40%. But it is one of those things when you think about it, like not in a depressing way, but if you were to get paid your income from your day job, you're going to be taxed on that. And then if you were to then put the money invest in the stock market, when you make money on that, you're then taxed on that again.
Capital gains.
And then
baby,
when you want to
go
buy your house, you get taxed on that again. And then you pay property tax every single year. And there's a lot of these things that, we talk about kind of those parasitic fees when it's like your Netflix and everything else. Like taxes are a huge one. Yeah. They are one that, depending on the order of operations in which you do things, like that could be a swinging of 10 to 20% of your income. And if you're doing it with your retirement or something later in life, like that could be 10 to 20% of your lifetime savings getting taxed just because the order of operations is off. Because, hey, the next administration took it from 40% to 60%. I could have got a 20% savings if I did it now. That's also not to say the next administration might take it down to 20%.
That's right.
And you paid a 20% premium to do it now.
Sure.
You don't have a crystal ball. You don't know. But, like, you have to be aware of these strategies. And I definitely think taxes are the one thing most probably that Americans should not just roll with the punches. You need to be proactive in understanding what your plan is.
Yeah, because if you sit around and wait, you're just going to get bit, right? Yep. And you can't, I think a lot of times, so when we see clients at the office, people walk into retirement and they're 65, they're walking into 65, they're about to take Social Security. They're not thinking about where these buckets are and how they're going to use these funds. They're not thinking about the liquidation process of these pieces. And that's why I stress it today, because if you're, I'm 36, if you're 30, 40, 50, you still have time to kind of move this stuff around. When you walk up at 65, it makes it really challenging to try and move some of these pieces of the puzzle around to really maximize what the effect that you're trying to go for.
And I mean, there's so many variables when it comes to that. And it could be everything from what's your location, what's your cost of living, what is your kids and grandkids doing? And you might want to move houses at any age. You might want to move houses closer to your parents when you're 30. You might want to move houses closer to your kids when you're 60. But understanding what are the things you can afford to do and understand to do in those moments, that's how you avoid the first part of the show. We're talking about how do you not get into delinquency and massive debt. And then you obviously don't want to get scammed out of your money in the middle. And then you don't want to let the government scam you too, because the government isn't going to tell you that you made a tax mistake. If you did the order of operations wrong and you pay an extra 20% tax, the government's not going to give you that money back.
That's right.
There's no chance they're going to do that. They're going to be like, meh, bad call. Whatever. Oops. So next.
Yeah. Well, and we'll see. I mean, ultimately, this is one of those things where it's in your hands, right? There used to be a time where there was a pension and you just showed up at the end of retirement and you got your pension and you got your Social Security and that's the way you lived life and it was good. But now it's on you. And what happened in that is nobody told you. So nobody told you that your retirement is on you. Everyone just kind of figures it out, right? And so it's on you. Make the right decision. Go get the answers to the questions you have. Use the AI tools that are in front of you. Use us. Use whatever you need to try and get the right answers for your situation, because it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. Dylan, we got to talk about something really important, buddy. People are going to die. You're going to die one day.
Statistically, it's most probable.
We're talking about taxes. You're going to pay those. And by the way, people in your life are going to die. Your parents are going to die. It's going to be challenging at times. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like on the long-term care side. There's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. We got skilled nursing, assisted living, independent living, home care. How sick are you? What's wrong? Can you take care of yourself? I currently have a grandma who's going through a dementia thing, which is not fun because we're starting to get to a spot where we're trying to manage her finances and her taking her pills. And she at one point was able to do it. Now she's not. So you look at all these different options. So this is a challenging piece to walk into in a lot of ways.
No, for sure. And I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, again, getting ahead of things early, having a plan early, understanding what are you what's most probably going to affect you. And how that's going to, change your life as you get older, or your loved ones' lives as you get older, or they get older. To me, it's what's the quality of what you're looking after. Like my parents would definitely never work well in a retirement home. That's not something they're after. But unfortunately for them, their retirement strategy is me. That is their only retirement plan, right?
Sure.
And it's one of those, hey, I'm realistically for them looking at moving abroad as a result of this. Cost is less expensive over there, so it takes the money and allows it to go much further. Whereas here at times you got to be realistic with what do you have saved, what can you do, because you really might want to live in this awesome retirement community and have a great life with old folks. But if it's like if that thing's $50,000 a year and you only have $150,000, that is not going to last for a long time.
And if you pull that slide up, I mean, these costs are a lot. If
100%.
you have a skilled nurse, and I say a skilled nurse, if you need a catheter, if you need IVs, if you're getting injections of some type, that's a requirement you're going to have. And those folks can either live in your house, come visit your house. And this price, I think this might be a little high. I think $11,000 a month is a little bit up there, but there are certain situations where it can be possible. It's not an impossible number to get to depending on what you need. Getting folks in and out of bed. I mean, these are things to think about where it's like, when you think about you, what's the biggest fear everybody has? I don't want anybody to take care of me. I don't want Dylan to have to.
Snakes are pretty high, but I agree.
Yeah, snakes are high too. I've had a snake issue. Snake's not great. This one's also not great. And we did it with my dad too. My dad had a terrible disease he died from, and you had to get him up out of bed. You had to do the bathing piece, and we needed a skilled nurse. But our solution to that, and this can be your solution too, is we kind of created a home around him. Right, there were 3 houses around him, and somebody was always available to go help him. We didn't use skilled nurses. We didn't really have the funds to do that. I mean, that would have been tremendously expensive to be able to do some of that stuff. So it was kind of on us. And I think a lot of people do find those intermediate solutions, but you are sacrificing in some ways that person's life, you know.
No, for sure.
And some people are not great caregivers. Some people are amazing caregivers, but some people are not gifted in that way.
And it's also, and obviously life is the most valuable thing we have as humans, but it is to some degree in that situation. It's if you wanted to go through with this skilled nurse, concept, and that was, thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars per month, your mom is still alive, healthy, and prospering, right?
Yep.
It's like if you were to spend all of her savings and retirement fund, she no longer is going to be able to live in a comfortable way moving forward. And unfortunately, there are times when those decisions do come to being as bleak and harsh as those realities.
Yeah.
But trying to understand, and that can be with insurance, there's lots of ways to supplement this and try to mitigate this.
Yep.
There's literally moving abroad as a solution to avoid this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways, but again, it comes with understanding and planning and trying to find the best situation for you. Obviously, the best situation is be as healthy and wealthy as you can possibly be. And sure, that might mean you need to go run or play tennis or go to the gym or whatever those factors.
I think healthy is a big. I mean, if you make the right decisions, if you eat the right food, if you are working out, if you're active, engaged in your community, if you're doing the right stuff, that's going to help so much.
100%. And the same thing is like we said earlier with, you need a village you need to live in a village. We're pack species. The people, you see it most frequently when, especially Americans, I forget what the statistic is, but it's something about like the average American post-retirement does not last very long. Because all of their friends, all the people they knew, they were going out and doing the things. When you retire and then you stay in your home and you don't go anywhere, like it's very easy to expire. It's also one of those where if your partner passes away when you're older, we see the second partner very quickly follow suit, right? And it's because you lost the person that was your best friend. And especially when you get older, you're going to have less friends. Unfortunately, there is going to be a degree of your friend group. You're either going to be the first to go or the last to go or somewhere in the middle. Those are the only options. So as you get older, you need that friend group to keep evolving. You need to keep people in your life, maybe it be your neighbors, maybe it be your community. Those things can be invaluable, not just when it comes to the medical expense side of things, but also the mental health side of things, the physical health side of things.
Yeah.
Wealth is one thing that we can reasonably control in our life, but there's, again, luck and other factors that may negatively impact that. You can almost, without fail, control your own physical and mental health. Now, there might be people in your life that make it challenging,
Sure.
but you have a lot of power over that. You have more power over that than even probably your finances.
Yeah, and I think in the independent living in the bottom left here, this is our cheapest kind of option, if you would, and it's very much them taking care of themselves, right? And these are like micro decisions. Hey, did you go to McDonald's today and get a cheeseburger, or did you eat a salad? Like those are the kind of pieces where it's like that as a teenager, as a 20-year-old, it's pretty easy. You're going to get it, right? But as a 70, 80-year-old, those are compounding bad decisions. Did you get enough sleep tonight? Are you sleeping well? Are you going in exercises? Do you find activities that are great? And the other bad news that I have for the guys is the women live longer than us. So a lot of times the men fall first, right?
Hey, maybe we shouldn't be, as crazy riding, electric devices and wheelies and stupid stuff. I mean, those things happen. Back to the broken bone thing from earlier.
No, this is why you got to buy a Tesla with the self-driving.
Exactly.
You push the button, then your insurance goes down. Everything's great with it.
Hey, if you're under the age of 50, the most probable way you're getting taken out is buy a vehicle.
There you go.
So if you avoid that, you're in a better spot.
Well, so we're dealing with my grandma right now, right? And the thing that we're taking away from her is, and I hate to say this way, there's two variables to this. The first one is finances.
Sure.
So grandpa was he did a great job. He was, 20-year military vet. He retired from a college as well. They have Social Security. He's getting $6,000 to $8,000 a month before he died. And then it gets lessened when grandma has it. But grandma's got $5,000 a month and grandma doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So like if anybody goes and asks her for money, she gives it. And so like she paid the lawn guy twice and she gave some money to the church that was a little bit extra for people that just kind of asked. And so she's getting taken advantage of, right? And so we're taking the money conversation away from her right now, which is tough. Now, hey, I'm managing your finances a little bit. But the other one, and that one strips a lot of your independence and makes you not free, but the car is the next one. Can she drive? What does that look like? And I've seen a lot of these videos popping up of people that are buying Teslas because it's like, You just plug in the address, push go. They're not driving really. They're just sitting in the car, right? And there's some great benefits that are coming from the AI and the robotics industry within this realm of things, right?
I think those things are going to help, especially give more access later on. My great-grandparents, they just recently passed away in the past like 5-6 years. But my great-grandfather was driving literally to the end. Okay. And I mean, at this point, he's in his late 80s and he's still driving with no care in the world. But it got to the point where there was a McDonald's, and that was like they would go there every day for breakfast. So he would go to this McDonald's that's like 1.5 miles from their house. It is not far, okay?
Yep.
He would multiple times have to take naps in the parking lot before he could drive home, and it's like, this isn't good.
That's bad.
Like, this isn't. Somebody take this man's license. But to your point, though, is like he that was not an option. He was not going to give up his license. There's no chance he wanted to do that. And even if that is the right call, but when you think about some of these long-term care solutions, it's like the people that need the decision made for them often do not want the decision made for them. So that's a whole different challenge you have to navigate. And it just gets tough. Like we talked about earlier with the health side and so the decisions you make when you're younger. You know, the Starbucks thing obviously is probably going to hurt your ability to save when you're spending $7 a day on coffee. But similarly, when you're eating the cheeseburger every day, it doesn't help either. They just released a study on what is the single things you can do to make yourself add years to your life.
Okay.
Sport-wise, it's tennis. It's worth about 9.7 years.
That is so awful.
It's so awful.
I hate that
I
so
agree.
much.
But then it's a massive step down. But then you have like swimming, and then you have running, and then you have a bunch of other stuff like that down there. But what's crazy is walking is worth about 5, just 10,000 steps a day. But we all know this. But doing 10,000 steps a day in a sedentary setup is not the easiest. It's not like you have a day job. It's you drive to work, you go there, you in an office for 7-8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, and then you may go to the gym and then you go home, but then you look at your step count and you're at 2,800 and you're like, God, I've done a lot today. I feel like I've done a lot today, but clearly the step count isn't there. And those are the little things, whether it's financially related, whether it's long-term planning related, all of those, like it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. And if you mess up on those, it gets a little tricky.
It does. Yeah. And I think walking and like being in nature, like going for a walk in the park in the middle of the day.
Nice.
Great reset.
Yeah.
You know, especially with like, if you ever had a bad conversation, like a bad moment, whatever, and you're just like, I just need to get away from this for a little while. Those are like the moments that are great. And what's awesome in retirement, if you've kind of planned it right, is you get a lot of those moments. And that's a great thing, right?
That's also understanding with retirement. There's a famous Chris Williams quote where he talks about, you know, there's a fisherman in Mexico who wakes up every day late, hangs out with his wife, goes fishing, doesn't make a lot of money, but that's what he wants to do. And an investment banker comes and he's like, hey, you know, if you worked it this way, blah, 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 over the next 20, 30 years, you can make this worth millions. And then you can retire and be like me and move to Mexico and fish a little bit and drink a little bit and hang out with the family. It's like,
I'm doing it.
I'm already doing this. So some people, retirement's already like a really basic or, you know, easy to make life. And it's like, you might be able to achieve that 20, 30 years before you thought, because you're not trying to live in a yacht in the Caribbean or anything like that. You're trying to live a normal life, and that becomes pretty accessible. But that's where it phases into the long-term care side of things of like, do you want your family to live with you as you get older? Do you need somebody to live with you as you get older? We don't know how we're going to age. We hope it's all well and great, but it might not.
Yeah. And you don't want to burden your children with that.
Yeah.
You know, your goal is not to burden them with your care.
I mean, 100 years ago, the game plan was to have as many as possible so they could take care of you.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if that's as politically correct today.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Different world we live in. There's lots of options. Explore them. Try and figure out. Make a plan. You got to have a plan for all the things,
Lots of
guys,
plans.
Okay? Let's do some questions, Dylan.
Okay.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can rip the first question. I'll answer.
Okay, Dylan.
Gotta find these things.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, this one's good. I keep seeing guaranteed crypto returns and AI trading bots online. What are the top 3 red flags that something is a get rich quick scam in 2026? Dylan, how do I get rich today? Right now.
There's only 3 things guaranteed in life, and it's death, taxes, and the Yankees are the best team in baseball. And
it's not true. I don't think they won last year.
That's true. Well, at least the first 2. Those are for sure guaranteed. None of these guaranteed get rich quick schemes, cryptos, and that stuff. It's not guaranteed. There might be things that are very probable. Like if you want to invest in a treasury bond, a T-bill, or something like that, it is going to get you a guaranteed return. Almost. There's a chance our government could collapse and it doesn't. Sure. But most probably that one's pretty close to guaranteed. Other than that, everything is skewing in the other direction of non-guaranteed. Most of these are often pump and dumps or get rich quick schemes, and somebody does get rich, but that somebody is very infrequently you. There's a very easy logic that you can follow, especially when it comes to things that increase significant wealth. And that is, if everyone is telling you to do it, it's not plausible. If everyone could do it, we would all be worth tens of millions of dollars. And given that every American isn't worth tens of millions of dollars, I would assume it's not probable, especially with today, with the internet and everything else. If that was true, it would be posted on Reddit, and within an hour, all the funds would be gone. Like, that's exactly how this would work. So you just have to be realistic and vet these things. Now, that doesn't mean there's not good investments. That doesn't mean there's not good things that you can take from this. But usually today, you either have a skill at something that allows you to understand a glitch in the market or something that you understand, or you have inside information, or you have a friend group that either collectively talks about this that has inside information, or a friend group that is smart enough to beat the market. But that is what you need. You need to know, like, if me and you are sitting down and we're doing something in a development space and we understand that, hey, there's a big gap here. Every developer needs X. And then we see a company that makes X. That's probably going to be a successful company. But that's only because we understand that piece of the market. And that might be true with cryptos or any investment strategy, but guaranteed is probably guaranteed to be a scam.
Yeah, you just got to work. Like, you're not going to cheat the system, right? Just do the right things. You'll come out on the other side okay. Especially with the AI stuff going on right now, right? There's a lot of white noise. Yeah. I mean, actually, the thing I thought of as you were saying that is the SpaceX IPO.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it.
Sure.
It's like the biggest thing in the whole world that's going to happen that everybody's going to be a billionaire from. And I'm like, if everybody's talking about it, they don't know. And it might be great.
Yeah. The scary thing to me with the stocks in the world and stuff like that, it's like with the GameStop thing, there's no reason GameStop is a functioning company today other than the fact that Reddit thought it was funny. And it's crazy that our stock market is currently working or not working based on the fact that sometimes people just think something's funny.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with the quality of the company.
That's right.
All right. So the next thing we got going on here is this is a question from Twitter. It says, I have $8,000 in credit card debt at a 24% interest rate. That's not good. And I just got a raise. Should I throw the entire raise at the debt, or should I split it between debt and savings so I don't feel deprived?
Yeah. This one was one that I have changed. Mark kind of opened my eyes up to this one because I think what happens when you get into this situation is that you need money can go a lot of different areas. You can put it in a lot of different spots in this one, right? You know, and paying off the interest on a credit card is a great feeling. It is tremendous. You've accomplished something, right? So one, is it all of it? And two, what do we have in savings for the emergency, right? For the thing that happens in life that you have to solve right now, for not adding to the debt. And so do you have enough money saved where you're not spending every month? And do you have an emergency fund set up? If you do, sure, I think it's great to slam it. But if you don't, I would put those things in the right spot, because you're going to have a rainy day. And what I don't want it to do is get worse. We don't want to make the debt worse. We want to make it to where you can manage the entire puzzle. And if you throw all of that and then you have to do it again because you have no emergency fund, no good. So make sure you attack emergency fund first and then debt. Ultimately, it's a challenging piece in life. You're going to go through struggles. You can do it. I believe in you. Okay. And that's all you need to hear. Go do it today.
Yeah, I think the other piece too is, they said at the end of this, so I don't feel deprived. I think that's something that understanding who you are as a person. I think if you're saying, so I don't feel deprived, you probably should treat yourself to some responsible capacity, just solely because that's probably the thing that's going to make you feel the best. Sure. And if you feel better about decisions, you're going to be more willing to make them. If you don't feel good about a decision and you said paying off debt makes you feel good. Yeah. There are probably some people paying off debt is like, cool. I don't care. Yeah. Right? Sure. And it's like, if that's not the win, then what are the wins? Yeah. Maybe the win is your car's tire blew up and you needed to go get new tires and it was $1,000 and you could pay for it. You probably might walk around and like, man, that's a year ago that messed me up. But right now I'm good. Yep. And it's like understanding what are the things that are going to make you feel good. Because you obviously don't want to feel deprived, but you obviously also shouldn't be treating yourself when you shouldn't treat yourself.
Exactly. You got to treat yourself. Okay. All right. Let's do the next one.
Okay.
What's a good one here, Dylan? We got to find a good one.
Insert the Jeopardy music.
Do, do, do.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, this is fun. We can talk about this one forever, I'm certain. I want to start a side hustle in 2026 because AI makes it easier than ever.
Sure.
What are the biggest tax mistakes people make with side income, and how do I avoid them? I asked this, Dylan, if you don't know, Dylan is the arbitrage king.
Yeah.
He will go to a store, buy it, sell it for more, tickets, cars. It doesn't matter what it is. Dylan loves the side income game. Water bottles, whatever. Water bottle was the most recent one for sure. But you love this game on the side for sure.
I mean, I think the hard piece is with information today, it's hard to do anything at scale like this. And that's not to sound like all doom and gloom, but like when I was in college, we could go to shoe releases for Jordans and stuff like that.
Sure.
But we had to camp out at night. They weren't buying them online. We had to wait at a store, and then we had to go get them, and then we had to sell them on eBay, and it was just a whole process, right?
Sure.
But now there's StockX and a million other places, so it's diluted the market to where basically reselling sneakers isn't even an option, or collecting them really isn't even fun anymore. And AI is really saturating a lot of markets because we saw this on YouTube. When YouTube first came to be, you needed a bunch of equipment to make good YouTube videos. And to make a good YouTube video, it wasn't the same amount of equipment needed to make a movie, but it was still like above what a normal person had.
Yeah, sure.
Well, now in the year 2026, this is an incredible camera. If I showed you a video on this camera versus that camera, you're not going to really notice too much of a difference.
I know some folks that would notice.
There's some, but not too many people would, right? Yeah. And when you think about that, it's because technologies became so good. Now anyone can make a video.
Sure.
So now you no longer need a couple $1,000s to buy your way into starting YouTube. Any person can start. So now we've seen a whole new wave of creators. AI is the same thing in the sense of it's not taking people that never had ideas. It's taking the people that had ideas and helping them with steps that they weren't previously the best at.
Yeah, sure.
So if you're a person that didn't have ideas before, haven't tried to do this before, starting a business is hard. Creating a startup is hard. Doing things in that capacity is hard. And understanding what you're going after is challenging. One of the biggest nuances is how do you avoid the tax ramifications? How do you avoid paying things in weird ways? Because there's a lot of advantages of being a business owner, but it's like we've been seeing this GIF go around recently from the guy from Fallout, where it's like business owners, when it comes to tax season, I made nothing, zero, nada. And it's like, you're just saying that because you don't want to obviously pay tax on any of the income you made, and you can expense your way through it, but it's not what you think it is. I think too many people in their head think that, oh, I can just spend all this money and it doesn't matter. And it's like, that's not the reality. If you have $100 million, like if you're a crazy successful company, you have $100 million in profit. You either pay tax on that $100 million in profit or you spend it. At the end of the year, you don't have it. It's gone.
Yep.
And it's sure, maybe you spend it on something crazy like buying a company or something else, but like at the end of the day, you get rid of the money. So the money is going to leave you no matter what. Being aware of that, understanding the situations, S Corp, C Corp, all of those, AI will help you do a lot of research on that. But for the most part, most people stick with a sole prop, make whatever you can on the thing. Once you start getting probably over $10,000 to $20,000 a year, that's when you should maybe look to lean into it instead of your job, but also paying an accountant. There are people that literally spend 4 years going to college. Maybe they get an MBA and they spend a couple more. They're professionals. They're going to be smarter than you or I. They're going to help you more than you or I.
Sure.
If you make enough, pay those people. If you make enough on your regular day job income, I'm a big proponent. If you make more than probably $100,000 a year, you should pay an accountant. Like, sure, it's going to cost you a couple grand, but that couple grand might save you $5,000 or $6,000.
Yeah.
So if you make more than 100, pay an accountant no matter what. If your business makes more than probably 15 to 20, I'd pay CPA, deal with it, have them do all your filings. Sure. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. And I think part of this is the two paths where you can try and figure out how to be a CPA yourself. And that's what you're really asking in some ways, like, how do I be a CPA? And it's like, well, that's a career path and it takes a lot and there's a ton of nuances to it, right? There's no one-stop shop answer for this. Pay the CPA to do these things to get the tax advantages is probably the best answer because experts are experts for a reason.
I'm pretty sure the C in CPA is certified.
Yeah.
Which means that they passed the test. And I haven't passed that test.
Neither have I. I'm not going for that test either.
Yeah, same. I'm not studying for that one.
Timeout, pass. Okay.
All right, so the last one I think we're going to have time for is going to be, it's another one from X. It is, everyone's talking about mindful spending instead of restrictive budgeting in 2026. What's a simple system to pay down debt faster while still enjoying life and avoiding lifestyle creep?
Oh my gosh. See, you know what I don't like about questions like this? I don't like giving hard truths. And I don't like giving hard truths.
Because people don't like them.
Because people don't like them. Because I can tell you the right answer to this question and you're not going to like it.
Quit buying dumb things.
There you go. That's how, before the cameras turned on, Dylan and I were joking a little bit about the show. Yeah. We were talking about how one of the answers to the questions is to just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right. And
sucks.
And ultimately it does suck. Right. And if you never experience the suck of doing the right thing with your finances, you're not going to reap the rewards.
Yep.
And that's ultimately what I hate about it is, hey, there's a time in life where you're going to get to spend and do a lot of amazing things, but it doesn't come before the trials and tribulations to get there. You do not get to skip it. Everyone you see on Instagram, everyone you see on Facebook, they had their own trials and tribulations. You didn't see that part. You see the fancy part, right?
And we talked earlier about you need the community of people around. You need that tribe with you. Those are often the ones that can hurt the most, right? It's like if you have one friend, like for example, when I was younger, I was the first person in my friend group to get a motorcycle. I also was the highest income person in my friend group. And then a lot of other people got motorcycles, often on debt. And it was one of those where I probably was a bad influence to them in that context,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
It would have been a more financial reasonable decision for them not to do that,
Sure,
right?
yep.
But we fall into those traps frequently. I think the gym is an easy example that I think just shows how most of the world works. The average person, when they go to the gym, they post pictures about it. They say they're going to start a fitness journey. They tell people about this. They get the reward of doing the thing before they've done the thing.
Yeah.
And then the people that really, set course and actually make a big change and stay with that are the ones that either A, they get their friends to go with them. They get people to buy in to help them. Because if me and you are going to the gym, I don't want to let you down and you don't want to let me down. So when we both wake up and we don't feel good, I'm going to go there because I know CJ's going to be there.
Yep,
that
sure.
helps a lot.
Yeah.
Or it's the person who says nothing. They don't post on the gym. They're not looking for validation. They're doing it for themselves individually.
Yeah.
They're just going to get up and they're going to do the hard thing. Your income is the exact same situation. How can you do the right thing when nobody's looking? Because people want to talk to you about your new car.
Yep.
Nobody wants to talk about the car you've had for the last 10 years.
And you know what's great about this question too, Dylan, is it comes back to the beginning of this conversation. And I think it comes to this idea of change, right? You're going to fall into a system, things that work, things that don't work. I view DoorDash as one of these things.
Sure.
Some people use DoorDash and it's not great for them. That doesn't mean they they can't use DoorDash. Maybe they shouldn't. That's probably the wrong word. But
I'm curious who it's good for.
Yeah, but maybe, okay, I'll give you an example of somebody, a CEO that's so busy and making so much money that it's easier for them to DoorDash the thing to get to the next meeting so that they don't have to delay on somebody or let somebody down, right?
And that guy's probably not the one doing it.
Exactly.
But I agree. Yeah, that one would make sense.
Yeah, where like it's super convenient. It makes it very quick, especially through a quick day or whatever. But ultimately, you do have the choice on where you can sacrifice, right? Pick the thing that's easiest for you to sacrifice, whether it is lunch. Maybe you need to pack your lunch and it makes it a little bit cheaper. Maybe you need to say no to the coffee. Maybe you need to not go out with your friends on Friday night and go to the bar. Find the thing that's easiest for you to say no to. Say no to that thing, and that's your sacrifice. Now, if you've created a scenario where you have to make a lot of sacrifices, well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but it's because you didn't do it earlier.
Sure.
And it compounded and got worse, and now it's going to be a harder journey for you. So start early. Be diligent about it. And I always say this, I've gone through a lot of phases where like I get away from the gym. Like the gym and me are boys, and then all of a sudden the gym and me are not boys. I'm like, what the heck happened? And the first week of me going back to the gym is always, I'm never really hitting it that hard. I'm just making sure I show up. Even if I show up and I'm at the gym for an hour and I do like very little lifting and just a bunch of walking or whatever, it's like, I got there and I did the thing. And so get there, start doing the thing. Even if you're not the best you in those moments, making the habit of getting to that spot is so important.
Yep, 100%. I also think it's true of like trying to be in your easy moments, making it such that you help someone in their hard moments.
Yeah, sure.
Like an easy example here is you talked about a lunch piece. I'm probably in the best financial position of people in my company, which is, I've been at it a little bit longer and that's fine. But I'm often the one that's like, hey, why are we getting the $20 sub instead of the $7 sub? What are we doing here?
Cheap. Yeah.
And it's one of those things of like, and it's not because it's like we all can't afford the thing, but it's like those things compile. It's about 1,000 paper cuts. It's like you said, bring your lunch to work 1 or 2 days a week. Like there's no shame in that. And obviously the food might even be better. The one that kills me is you said earlier, I live in the city around a lot of people and there's a lot of good restaurants. I see people in my apartment DoorDash. there are, I kid you not, if you walked out of my door and went 100 yards in any direction, you're passing 15 places.
Yeah.
Like 10 to 15 restaurants. Easy.
And it's nice little walk to get there.
100%. And you're door dashing them to that door.
Sure, yeah.
Like you were within 100 yards of so much food. And I do get it. There's some people that have time. They're busy. Maybe they're working a crazy 12-hour shift on a deployment. And I think there are exceptions at which it does make sense. But that is not the overwhelming majority of the time.
It shouldn't be your go-to.
100%.
It should not be your go-to.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been another exciting episode of the Wealth Help Desk. We hope you've learned something. We hope you've gotten some value from this. If you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, come hit us up in the comments, like, subscribe. Join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. where we just navigate the finances of life. But we're excited for that, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.